Recently, New York passed a controversial bill which allows abortion up to the moment of birth. Now Virginia seems to be taking this even further, legalizing abortion after birth, in other words, infanticide. Listen to what Governor Ralph Northam had to say.
If a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mothers.
Did you hear that? Even after a child is born, we're still having the conversation on whether or not that child should stay alive. During the State of the Union address, President Donald Trump called upon Congress to end late-term abortion, specifically from the time that science can prove the baby can feel pain.
To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb.
Trump's remarks have restarted the national debate on abortion and reproductive rights. The voices on the pro-life and pro-choice sides are louder now than they've been in many years. But there is one voice we often forget when discussing abortion, the voice of the child. Today, I have Claire Culwell with me, who just testified at the Kentucky Senate for the fetal heartbeat bill. This proposed legislation in the states would make abortion illegal as soon as the fetus's heartbeat is detected. Claire is an abortion survivor and a pro-life speaker. Here's what Claire had to say.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Claire, and I am adopted. My sister is adopted, and this was something that we always kind of knew. We neither of us actually remember finding out that we were adopted. It was something that was instilled in us. It was a very positive thing, spoken about in our home, in our family, that we were adopted and that we were wanted, chosen, and loved. And we knew that we had birth mothers that could one day possibly become a part of our story. And we thought that was great. We were excited about that possibility because we knew that they had given us such a great gift when they gave us our family and our life. And so my sister decided when she was 17, and she's 2.5 years younger than me, she decided to search for her birth mother. And so my sister met her birth mother, and my sister's birth mother was 30 years old and could have easily raised my sister, but she made the incredibly loving and selfless choice to place my sister for adoption with my parents, who were not able to have children naturally and to complete their family. And so my sister's birth mother had come to visit us, and I was given the opportunity to meet my sister's birth mother. And we were sitting around this table for dinner, and her birth mother was sitting next to me, and I had this urge to lean over and tell her how grateful I was for her giving me my sister, because my family wouldn't be complete without my little sister. And so in that moment, it was the first time that I realized that there was a woman out there, my birth mother, who had done the exact same thing for me, and yet I hadn't taken the time, nor had I really given much thought at all to meeting my birth mother, what that meant for me. But I knew that she deserved, regardless of the circumstances, no matter why she placed me for adoption, no matter how uncomfortable the situation could possibly become, because we didn't know anything about my birth mother other than that she was very young. Regardless of all those things, I knew that my birth mother deserved to hear thank you, because she had given me the two greatest gifts I would ever receive in my mind, and that was my family and my life. And so I reached out to my adoption agency, and they were able to contact my birth mother, who agreed to meet me. And so we had this incredible reunion, and I brought my family and she brought her family, and it was just this great time. We were able to share pictures and cry and laugh together and see who I looked like. I looked so much like my birth mother. It was such an encouraging and fun time to connect all the pieces of my puzzle, or so I thought that day. And so we planned to continue our relationship, and so I wanted to go visit her. The first meeting we had met in just a in-between spot for us, but this second meeting I wanted it to be where I would go visit her and I would get to see where she grew up, where I would have grown up if she had kept me, and just could get to continue to thank her for what she had done for me and continue to get to know her. And so in preparation for that second meeting, I knew I wanted to give her something that represented my gratitude towards her. And so I got her this ring and this necklace with my birthstone on it. And I was on the plane on my way to where she lived, and I had this card with the gift, and the card was blank. And I didn't know where to even begin to tell this woman who had given me my life and my family how grateful I was towards her. And so I summed it up and I just said, thank you for choosing life for me. That's the greatest gift I've ever received. And I sealed it up and I put it with the ring and the necklace in the gift bag. And I got there that day and we had a wonderful second reunion. And I gave her the ring and the necklace at the end of the day, and she cried really happy tears as she opened that. And then she read the words on the card, and I watched as what were happy tears quickly turned into really sad tears. And my birth mother grabbed my hand and she took me into a room in her home, and we sat down on the bed, and her hands were shaking and she had tears in her eyes. And I thought, what in the world could she be about to tell me? And I didn't know in that moment that would change my life forever. She said that she was 13 years old when she was pregnant with me, and her mother advised her that the best decision for her was to have an abortion. And so my birth mother was driven to a local abortion clinic that day, where she had a surgical DNC abortion at 5 months along in her pregnancy. During that abortion appointment, they told her that her life would go back to normal. Many of the things that still today they tell women that are entering into abortion clinics, but my birth mother's life never went back to normal. In fact, she had to go back to that same doctor 4 weeks later, and she found out that the abortion had been successful, but that she was still pregnant. My birth mother found out that she had been pregnant with twins, and I had survived her abortion. At that point, they wanted to perform a second abortion, but because of where she lived, they weren't able to do that there. And so they referred her to Kansas for the third attempt on my life. But because of the risk of infection due to the fact that she was leaking amniotic fluid for 4 weeks after that abortion, while she was still pregnant with me, they turned her away. And I was born 2 weeks after that third attempt of walking into an abortion clinic.
Wow.
I was born 10 weeks early. I weighed 3 pounds, 2 ounces. My hips were dislocated on both sides. I had club feet. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and I was in body cast after body cast after body cast as the doctors did everything they could to correct what that abortion had done to my body. And I still have some effects today. But I'm so grateful that my birth mother allows me to share our story, because she said that she never wants another little girl or another woman or another family or another child like me to experience what we have because of abortion.
So what personal struggles have you faced, not only knowing that you're an abortion survivor, but knowing that you could have or should have had a twin sibling?
You know, it's hard as someone that didn't grow up with a twin. I didn't even grow up with a brother, and my twin brother wasn't here with me. And so it's hard for me to imagine what that was like. But I do live with the physical complications from that abortion every single day. And it reminds me that not only was my voice and my right not taken into consideration, but my twins wasn't either. And so I actually think that even though I know that not having a twin has affected my life, it's just hard for me to imagine that. I think a lot of times about how it has affected my parents, because my parents longed and hoped for a son, because my I live in Texas, and it's a big thing to have a senior and then pass down the family name to a junior and a third and the fourth. And my dad was not able to experience the things that he loves with a son as he should have been able to do. And so it affects our entire family.
And being part of the Abortion Survivors Network, how common is it for survivors to live with either physical, mental, emotional issues or disabilities?
Every single one of us, there are hundreds of abortion survivors across the world, and many of us have connected through the Abortion Survivors Network, and every single one of us deals with some type of complication from the abortion, whether it's physical, emotional. Every single one of us deals with some type of complication from that, some type of aftermath from that, and that's why we have sought out healing and help and connection through the Abortion Survivors Network. And so oftentimes people see the face of someone like me or someone like Melissa Oden, the founder of the Abortion Survivors Network, and they think, oh, that's rare. But there are hundreds of us that have gone through this program that Melissa created, and there will be hundreds more as we continue to make abortion readily available for any reason.
So if you can tell me, what was your first reaction when you heard about the New York passing the late-term abortion bill, or when you heard the governor of Virginia talking about late-term abortion? What was your first reaction?
You know, it's shocking that we live in a not only my country, but in a world where we know, based on science and medical technology, that that is a life in the mother's womb. There is no doubt. Medical technologies does not show us that it is anything other than a human being with separate DNA and a separate heartbeat than the mother. And so it's shocking that we live in a time where we don't care about the truth. And oftentimes it's hard to picture what that baby's life could have been like, what we're actually representing or in my case fighting for. And so my reaction has not only made me question and ask this question to people, you know, what was my choice? What was my choice? And I have a 6-year-old daughter who wouldn't be here today if that abortion had been successful in my life. And I want to know, what was her choice? And one day I hope and I pray that she grows up to be a mother and a grandmother and a great-grandmother. And I want to know, what were their choices? Because we talk about in the governor of New York and all of these women that were wearing white in the State of the Union and people that claim women's rights, that they're talking about the women's rights. But I am a woman sitting before you that survived an abortion, and I want to know, what were my rights? Did my rights not matter in that moment? Did my daughter's rights not matter?
So finally, what is your message specifically to lawmakers?
I want people to see our faces. I want people to see my face. I want people to hear and know my name. My name is Claire Culwell, because I survived an abortion. I have a name. I have a face. I have a story. I have a family. I am a child that was once in the womb that grew up to be somebody. And so I want people to hear my name. I want people to speak my name. And I want them to think about the humanity that is inside the womb and vote to protect people like me, people that didn't have a voice. And I know that in the womb, if I could have spoken, I would have wanted to. I would have wanted to use my voice. I would have wanted a choice. And so I would ask people to give us that right. Give me my rights, because my rights are not any less than my birth mother's, than any other woman's across the country, my rights mattered. And so I would ask you to uphold that.
It's really an amazing story, and thank you so much for sharing it, and thank you for raising awareness about this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much, Claire. If you liked that video and you want to see more from me and the rest of the Rebel team, like and subscribe.